Hi, good afternoon. So I hope you all had a good lunch, and in the post-lunch session, we are going to talk about environment, climate change, and everything about sustainability. So it's my real, a pleasure and an honor to be moderating this session. My name is Navneet Vibhav, and I'm very, very honored that I have this great privilege to moderate a session on environment and climate change with such an eminent panel of speakers. So since we only have 45 minutes, I think it makes sense to get started right away and leave some time, maybe 10 minutes towards the end for all the students and the guests to kind of ask us questions on what you feel needs to be addressed when it comes to environment, climate change, ESG, and all of that. So without further delay, what I'll do is, so the idea is that, I'll of course have a few questions, and I'll request the panelists to kind of share their thoughts on each of these issues and stuff. And thereafter, maybe time permitting, we'll have questions from the audience. So let me begin with, this a question. Like, we've had a whole lot of, discussion in recent times where we've had a lot of criticism also when it comes to the government, where the activists and people who claim to care for the environment have actually said that, there is a conscious attempt to kind of water down certain environmental laws, and the focus clearly has been that you're trying to kind of do away with provisions which are dealing with, say, for example, imprisonment and a whole lot of things. Like we had the Jan Vishwas amendment and all of that. Now, my question to the panelists, and I'll begin with Mr. Mehta, because it's a real honor to have him as a part of this panel. So over the years, sir, because you've actually been a litigant in a lot of these landmark cases which we've had in this country, and which have actually kind of established a lot of principles of environmental law in this country. How do you see this as a shift from the manner in which the environmental laws have been adjudicated in the last 2 or 3 decades? So do you really see that this will kind of be detrimental to the interest of environment in this country? Or do you see this is something which is kind of justified in light of sustainable development and the fact that clearly as a developing nation, we want investments, we want kind of, the companies to kind of set shop and start business in this country? So.
Let me see that, first of all, I would like to wish you that this is a forum which you have provided to all of us. We being lawyers, we meet very rarely, in the sense, that if we have a case, then we fight. Otherwise, we don't meet, in a social. But this is a wonderful thing that we are meeting over here and discussing the issues. And the issue is of climate change, or environment and climate change cannot be separated. So when we talk about the climate change, it is knocking at the everybody's doorstep, every day and every hour, So we have to think that what has to be done, because only we can change our destiny, we can make our future beautiful, and in a way that where our coming generations, they have also right to live. As we have right to live, the same way the future generations have right to live. So we have to think, because it is our duty now, that how we can shape our destiny, and especially of each country and wherever we go and whatever happens, we have to raise issues, and then we have to come to the solutions. We should not be all the time thinking that, okay, criticizing each other, this development is more important than the development can take place only if the environment is safe. But if the environment is not safe, what will you do? How that industry can flourish? So it is a way that we have to, industry has to take care of the environment if they are polluters, and we are not enemy to anybody. We only we request them that, hey, if the laws are there, if the Environment Protection Act is there, it should be honored and it should be implemented, and each unit those who are running such business which is hazardous in nature, they should see that yes, that they are the people, those who can show their face to the world. That yes, here we are the cleaner. We are cleaning, our product is clean, our industry is clean. We are not discharging these pollutants into the rivers. And now you see this shocking, the way we have not even spared our Mother Ganga. It is too much. When I go, I live in that side, and then I go to see, frankly, it is all the nalas, the drains, they are still joining this, the Mother Ganga. On the one hand, we have the aartis, we have so many things in the evening and the morning, but this has become a ritual. And when I meet these pandits over there and others, and I request them that it is your duty, that you please, that tell that it is like they are not our clients, they are your clients. They have to come. They have to, the pandit, they have to go there. When we die, even then, we have to go to the Hardwar and other, along the banks of the Ganga, and do everything, whatever the rituals are there. But what are we are doing? So I don't want to take much time, but my serious this request to you is that you please, you are young people. We are in the fag end of our life. Still, if we can talk, if still we have the fervor, why can't you come out also? You have to come out. If you will not come out, who else will come? Your future generations, you are going to be married, you are going to run your families, and if your son or daughter, goes into the Ganga, and then they see that one person, I was at Hardwar, and the person, that he came to me the next day, he said, sir, and he was a foreigner, saying that I had I wanted to have a bath, dip into the Ganga, and then the whole of the shit, came to his face. When this can be the situation, what? And the person is from USA. So he said, MC, what are you doing? I said, what I am doing? I'm not doing anything, but this is what this situation is. He went there and we talked, all that things, but it was that he was carrying, that Ganga Jal. He said that I will take you there. But then after that he said, no, I'm sorry, either you take me to some other place, but from there I will take this and keep at my house. So it is not that the question of, he was not a Hindu, he was a Christian. But once he saw the Aarti taking place in the evening and the morning and everywhere and all that, now see the Kumbh Mela. And you have seen that the people, they have taken bath in the dirtiest water. It is not a shame. It is, because they are innocent. We have the deep belief in Mother Ganga. That she is, and she is. But then, what are we doing now? I can't, I don't have any words to explain or express you that where we have reached, where is our moral values, where is our environment, and if we don't have if we can't save Mother Ganga, if we can't save the other rivers in the country and the air to breathe, what are we going to do? Is it the development model? I am against, it is not that I am against development model, but development model should be to develop the system in accordance with keeping in view the life and health of the people and the environment. If the other environment if the plants are not there, if they are suffering, if all these things are happening, what will you do? It is not going to. If most of the time I say that are we prepared that whole of India should become a hospital? That everybody is, you are running this huge business now. These hospitals, health, because they have to go. And if they are poor or rich, it is not the difference. the, they have to go to the doctors. And the doctors, they are not, they don't know it is happening because of the industrial pollution, or it is happening this or that, and they will diagnose, go on and on and on and on, and this is this circle. So I don't want to take much time, but my other colleagues are here, and they have to share their views also. But my only humble suggestion is that please, most of you are lawyers, some are young lawyers. I was also a young lawyer at one time, but now you please, it is your role to play. And you sit, you have some circles, the inner circles and the outer circles, 2-3 circles of lawyers, whether at the Supreme Court level, whether in the high courts, whether in other places. I go and I suggest them. When I speak there, and I said, I tell them that please, why you are, if you have any problem, let us know so we can solve. So you, the young lawyers, and the senior lawyers, we have the responsibility. It is not the young or the senior or the juniors. We have to, everybody breathes, and they want to breathe fresh air to breathe, and fresh water to drink, and the reasonably unadulterated food to eat. What we eat, even that is contaminated, polluted, We don't know what are we eating. So this is what happens because of it is a circle. And that circle can be this vicious circle, and this can be taken, we have to see that this circle should be get broken, and then we can do things which really, what we are talking about, Sat Yuga and other yugs, and the yugs will be there. Now see, here in the gutter water, the people, they are for bathing purposes, with such an intensity they go there. And in Kumbh Mela, this is happening. You have, many of you might have read in the newspapers also, and this is a very serious thing, that they are in the gutter water. Can you imagine that from far-flung areas they come, from foreigners they come, and then what they will say that, okay, where we have taken bath and what we were dreaming of Mother Ganga, and there is no Mother Ganga. So for me, Mother Ganga will remain forever. We will not remain on this earth, but she will be there. But let us do our fundamental duty to protect her and ourselves. We are not going to help the Ma Ganga. We are helping ourselves that way. Because if we have the clean water to drink, or the Jamuna water, that what is happening with the Jamuna. These are all my cases. So it is not almost all over the country, most of the rivers cases I am fighting, in different courts, in different places and all that. But you feel a little frustrated also. But now I am very happy that such discussions we are taking place over here, and we should see that we should not be an empty affair, but we should go with positive thoughts and positive action. And then I congratulate that for the organizing that such a program is being organized, and here we all young lawyers and the senior lawyers and all those, we should meet and we should treat that environment as a priority in our life, for everybody's life, for every bird, for every, the animal, for everything, So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So I'll come to Mr. Chima, and going back to my question, I would really want your thoughts, considering you've also worked with some of India's top-tier law firms, and you've seen the whole, progression in terms of investments and what were the hiccups, and what really were the fear factors when it comes to the directors and all of that. Now that there has been a conscious attempt that we're trying to kind of do away with a lot of things which was typically seen as a red flag, do you really think that that's something which is justified? Was it really required when it comes to providing that comfort to the companies, or the companies never really the compliant companies never really kind of required something like this, because in any case they were compliant? But when it comes to the forest laws, the kind of stuff that has happened over the last few years in terms of the amendments, if you see the Jan Bishwas amendments and all of that, where really are we heading? Your thoughts?
Thank you. First of all, thanks to the organizers. I started my profession in 1991, and I was in the Supreme Court. That's where I started my profession. So I just want you all, and when I entered the profession, Mr. Mehta was also relatively younger, I would say. He's still young, but he was relatively younger. And I have seen him since those days. It's been over 3 decades that I've seen the crusade that he has carried forward in terms of protecting the environment. One thing, I think this is a great occasion. I think we should all acknowledge him today with a round of applause.
Yeah.
Environmental law then was not a very hot thing to do. Criminal law was, but he spearheaded, so 86 judgment, and then in the 90s we have seen judgments, and then I have followed him, his legal growth path in terms of what he has done for our nation in terms of environment and climate change, so to say. So I'm glad today I'm sharing a dais with you. So it's a real pleasure. One point that I also, before I respond to your question, is what Mr. Mehta said. See, the traditional debate in India has been this environment versus development. Okay. As a matter of fact, there is no debate about it. I don't know why in courts or otherwise, government or any authority makes it an issue. So you may do all kind of development, but if you don't do it sustainably, then 10 years down the road, what use will be that development when you're not able to breathe? That's the point. So I think instead of resisting, I'm an amicus curiae in carbon emissions case. The matter was listed today before the Supreme Court. I could see the reluctance on the part of the government. And it was, to my mind, this should have been a much more collaborative approach in terms of finding a resolution to an issue. Nobody is going to point fingers at the government. We all are in this together. What you and I breathe is same what the government officers breathe. So I think it's a common cause that we have in all of this. So therefore, this debate is a useless debate in terms of saying development versus environment. Why can't sustainability also go hand in hand with our development process? It can happen. It's not difficult. And there are examples, successful examples of the government, how when they collaborate, one health mission in the country is one example of this, where various stakeholders, various ministries, various departments of the government have all, including state governments, have gotten together to provide a single nation sort of mission, so to say. And I was addressing the court and I said, this is an example that we must follow in the emissions matter also. That, these are the ministries, key nodal ministries, which should work together to find a resolution to this crisis, because this is not you versus me. It is about us, if you really look at it. Coming back to the question in terms of corporates and how over the last few years the legislation has somewhat diluted in terms of forests, for example. Again, this is a debate that people have mentioned in the past in terms of, well, we have to do development, so therefore we have to deregulate some parts of the forest. I think it needs a sit back by a set of people, policy makers, legislators, policy thinkers, and really look at it from a very holistic perspective. That's number one. Number two is, now we have a requirement, compliance requirement vis-a-vis the companies, as far as the companies are concerned. Well, that is important, and I think that's a good step in terms of containing pollution in any way, whether it's in the form of affluents or it's in the form of emissions, so to say. Let me also tell you, having prepared my report and submissions to the court, I've gone through the entire legislation on the subject, both on affluents as well as on emissions. There is enough law on the book. The problem is the enforcement of that law. I think that is a big issue that we have vis-a-vis the issues that we are discussing this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll kind of change the conversation slightly now and come to Dr. Atul Gupta. So, sir, you run an organization which focuses on ESG, right? And that's pretty much like the buzzword or called the flavor of the season or whatever you call it. Because everyone is kind of focusing on ESG and it's clearly kind of something which is definitely required. India, as always, we've arrived at the party late because be it Europe or US, I mean, there was a whole lot of stuff happening when it comes to ESG compliance. My question to you, sir, is that, if we are talking about ESG compliance, for example, and there is a whole lot of conversation around greenwashing. And when I say greenwashing, I mean both in qualitative and quantitative terms, right? So one, of course, your thoughts on how, because considering you've been working on ESG issues for some time, what are your thoughts on the nature of greenwashing that you're seeing during the course of your work? And considering we've had a lot of these laws being tweaked now because the regulators have become much more strict when it comes to, ensuring that there is no greenwashing as such, be it SEBI and a whole lot of consumer, authorities and all of that. How do you see that the nature of businesses will change over the course of next few years when it comes to dealing with greenwashing? Your thoughts?
Thank you very much. And at the outset, I will convey my gratitude to Vikesh ji and Girish ji that for giving me this opportunity on this Oak Bridge program. When I was listening to both the gentlemen, this very senior person in the profession, I was having a thoughts around, because when we are running this ESG Research Foundation, a Section 8 not-for-profit organization, we are going to the schools and voluntarily educating the students, practically to catch them young. That, okay, we have to educate them, as sir was telling all our colleagues here, that it is you are now, that you are the future. So I feel that when we see the country as a whole, I will take a minute to come to your topic. But if we see the country as a whole, one side you have to develop the entire country. You have to become a developed country because there are a lot of challenges in terms of the population and many other factors are there. And at the same time, you are also a signatory of a net zero by 2070. So I believe India is the only country which is progressing with that kind of a pace, and at the same time also working that how we can be more sustainable in nature. Now, if you will see the law, so there are many laws, independent laws are there in terms of the pollutions, in terms of the how you will handle the gensets and this and that. So there are the many laws are available which try to protect. But the only point which I wish to convey here before I answer the question is about the mindset. So even if you will make hundreds of laws, it will not change. Today when we see the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and the Indore is the city or the Chandigarh is the city which are trying to achieve the first rank. So there is no law which is required. It is the mindset. Now, there are the two, I will say, the stakeholders of this ecosystem. One is the corporate, the another one is the individuals. Now, for the corporates, I can tell you that already there are there is a process going on that not only the individual laws which are applicable to the industry specific, but also the reporting mechanism is also getting developed globally in such a way. For example, in the SEBI, the Security Exchange Board of India implemented for the 1,000 top listed company that there will be a BRSR, that you have to report not only the qualitative information, but also you have to convert that qualitative information into the quantitative information. And on the same line, there is a global board called International Sustainability Standard Board, which has released the two standards, IFRS S1 and S2, meaning thereby that if you are an organization and you want to deal with any European country or anywhere in the world, or you want to say that I am an IFRS compliant organization for getting listed. So practically what I am trying to convey you, that if you want to access the capital from the market, you have to be IFRS S1 and S2 compliant, meaning thereby that you are not only reflecting the qualitative information, but also the quantitative information converted into
converted into your financial statement. That is called the sustainability related risk and opportunities. That is SRRO. Now, the other segment, which is the public at large. So again, I will come back to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So it is the mindset that, as sir mentioned, that okay, if the Ganga river, somebody is doing a shit, it is not the law which will be able to prohibit. It is the mindset we all have to adopt, that it is my mother earth, it is my planet, and I have to preserve for the generations to come. So if everybody will not agree on this same thing, the law will not be able to do. Now, coming to the greenwashing. The greenwashing or a lip service is always a challenge, because when you are looking to access the capital and you are not a compliant organization, what you will do? That you will do a greenwashing kind of things. Okay, you will show that, okay, I have achieved this much, my net zero journey is there, I have achieved a net zero. So how you will be able to achieve the net zero? Practically, if we all understand how we will be able to achieve the net zero, that each one of us has to become a net zero, including Atul Gupta. Everybody, not only the organization, but even myself. So if I'm coming here, if I can catch the metro rather than a individual cab or a pooling of vehicle will be there, then only I will be able to contribute to this net zero journey. Now, the organizations, certainly, as you mentioned, that there will be a process, there will be a greed to access the capital by doing a greenwashing. And that's why not only the individual laws are there, but as I mentioned you, there are the mechanism which is getting inbuilt into the system that the organization has to report, and there will be. So there is always a call that there should be assurance part on this aspect, that okay, if somebody is doing a greenwashing, there will be assurance services, somebody will check, a maker-checker concept will be there, will ensure that, oh, there is a greenwashing or there is a lip services, then the red flag will be created. So this is the, I believe, that something that getting inbuilt into the system. As I mentioned you, in the Europe and the USA, though because they are already a developed country and they have the only to do this. So there are the stricter norms which are already being implemented by them. India being a developing country, they have to do both. They have to develop as well as to maintain the environment. This is something that uniqueness is there in our ecosystem that all we are aspiring for. So yes, as you mentioned, that we are also doing our bit, that we are trying to create the awareness, we are getting recognizing the others, going to schools to catch them young, that okay, how you can do a better practices. Even we launched the 2 short movies, documentaries as well, that okay, how you can save the planet, and just to create the awareness and educate the society at large.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. So I'll now come to Dr. Venkateshan, and so I of course had a different question in mind, but before this session we were having this conversation, and we're talking about how, if you're talking about the whole, vehicles which actually run on gas, for example, right? And why there is clearly failure, because we don't really have the infrastructure. And that kind of gave me this idea to actually ask him. So, of course, your initial thoughts, Dr. Venkateshan, in terms of how an organization like GAIL actually kind of is dealing with issues with respect to ESG and a whole lot of compliances and all of that. And thereafter, the second part, which I would really want you to kind of share your experience, on is this whole, because of course we spoke about, these vehicles which are supposed to kind of move from gasoline, for example, petrol, diesel to gas, and clearly there was not the sufficient infrastructure, which is why it could not be implemented in the manner the government and other stakeholders would have expected. And now again, we are talking about electric vehicles, for example, right? And one of the issues which keeps cropping up time and again is whole issue of infrastructure and, and all of that. So if it comes to, for example, issues like ESG, and then it comes to issues like these, where we're talking about transition, all right, to clean mobility, how do you really see this as something which is going to happen in the next 5-10 years? And where really do you see the challenges which are required to be addressed, and who would actually address those challenges? A very long question for you. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I want to thank this organization for giving me an opportunity. More particularly, being a part of a very renowned person, Mr. Mehta, with me. Because we have long relationship with Mr. Mehta. Because GAIL has got a lot of lessons from Mr. Mehta. Because he was the pioneer in approaching the Honorable Supreme Court, highlighting that in and around Taj Mahal, there are more than 500 and odd coal-based industries, like small-scale industries manufacturing crockeries, all those things. So he highlighted to the court saying that all those coal-based industries should be shifted to gas-based industry. Then there was a direction given to Gas Authority of India. Then we told the Honorable Supreme Court, we don't have sufficient gas. How can we supply this thing? Then Apex Court told, we don't know what you will do. You can even import the gas, because liquid petroleum natural gas can be imported from other countries. We want this entire conversion should take place, and this should be done within a stipulated time. So that is how ultimatum was given to Gas Authority of India. So we had no other option, because indigenous gas is depleting. We don't have sufficient gas. So we were forced to import gas from other countries like Qatar and all. And then we implemented this project. So we had to request everybody there. Of course, the mandate from Supreme Court was there. People were reluctant. Then we had to do a lot of publicity to them, the advantages of how the green energy is, how the this natural gas is very beneficial to them. So this is how we have implemented this thing, and the entire credit goes to Mehta sir for this. And this is one thing. And the other one, even for implementing CNG in the NCR region also, sir was instrumental, and again direction was given to Gas Authority of India, and through our group company Indraprastha Gas, and we had to request the people to change over from the polluting diesel to the green energy, that is the CNG. So, and we continuously got so many orders from the High Court, Supreme Court, why the vehicles are standing in queue, why you people are not giving priority to this sector, all those things. So then we had to amend the rules. The Ministry of Petroleum had to amend the rules, because earlier only there are two priority sectors. One is for power sector. Whoever is taking gas for producing power, they are the power sector. Then fertilizer sector, because ultimately the beneficiaries are the poor farmers. And these people who are taking CNG were not a priority sector. Then the Supreme Court said, no, you have to make them as a priority sector. Then we had to modify the rules, and accordingly we had to supply more this thing, keeping it as a priority sector. So from that account also, credit goes to Mehta sir for this. So being a corporate, so as rightly pointed out, so we have to strike a balance, because we are in the anxious times. At the one time, one side, there are a lot of technological advancements, like artificial intelligence, all those things. On the other hand, Mother Earth is now, we are really, sort of a pathetic situation. So how to strike a balance in this? So this is a very big task for corporate sectors like us, and we have laid more than 15,000 kilometers of pipeline, gas pipeline in the entire India, and at every point of time we take care of how to get the permissions from the concerned authorities, because many of our pipelines are also passing through forest areas like reserve forest and all. And we meticulously follow, even if the project is slightly delayed also, we meticulously, we ensure that environmental impact assessments are done, and there is a duly constituted green bench in the Supreme Court with all amicus query and all those things. And we put forth our view. In fact, when we approach the concerned pollution control board and everything, we ourselves tell them, please write it in our file instead of keeping our file pending for a long time. Please write it in that we have to approach the Honorable Supreme Court and highlight to the Supreme Court that this is for the larger public interest. That is how, even in the reserve forest also, while we are laying the underground pipeline, we are not disturbing any animals or anything. On the other hand, whatever trees we are felling, and accordingly equivalent more than that we are planting the things, and we satisfy the thing. And because India is aiming at gas based economy, moreover, to attain the net zero, the target given by this thing also. So in fact, for GAIL, we are having net zero target of 2035. So because we are into renewables, and we are doing so many other, we are injecting hydrogen also in our CNG, so that it will be less polluting like that. So we are having a sustainable development department, exclusive department in GAIL, and accordingly, as a corporate, we are contributing. Even we are into the campaign like Ava Badlo campaign. You must have heard in the entire NCR. It's a very big success, and all these our initiatives are being measured by us. So, our compliant is, we are doing excellent compliant of these things. So, on the one hand, whatever the environmental impact we may be having, but at the same time, development is also there, and there should be some balance in that, and we are meticulously following this, and our reporting system is excellent. So, I just want to thank Mehta sir also for this initiative.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Venkatesan. And so the next issue which I clearly want to touch upon is the issue of climate change. And since Mr. Chima has written a fantastic book recently where he has kind of touched upon the laws in India and what is happening internationally and all of that. So I'm sure this question has been asked to you time and again, but let me kind of repeat. So we always have this conversation where we kind of talk about having a specialized authority, agency for climate change mitigation adaptation. The question really is that since we already have a ministry, and the ministry says Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, we have laws with respect to, say, for example, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, which of course talks about your emission standards and all of that, right? So my question to you is, do you really see the need to have a specialized authority when it comes to deal with the whole issue of climate change adaptation and mitigation in India? Or there is clearly a need to kind of use the existing agencies, and what is it that we should be doing better to ensure that we are kind of, better prepared to deal with this whole challenge? And considering the Supreme Court judgment we've had in the GIB matter and all of that, where the court has clearly reiterated that you have a right against the adverse impact of climate change, what is it that we should be doing better?
I think the issue is that it's not about creating another authority per se. My assessment is that there are enough authorities. There are state pollution control boards, there is central pollution control board, there is a ministry on top, we have overseen by NGT, Supreme Court. There are a whole set of authorities which are already in place. And there are a number of policies which are already in place. The point that I would like to make is that I think, for example, there are some nodal ministries like Ministry of Power, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Ministry of MNRE, Textile Ministry. Textile also creates, the emissions from textiles are very high. So similar kind of Ministry of Human Resources and Development. You'll ask me why that? Because I think there's a sustained campaign required at the school education level to create this awareness on climate change. So there is a whole set of, I've actually documented about 32 agencies and the ministries of the government of India which needs to actually sit down together. See, everybody is crafting a policy on their own, which is good, which is fine. They are within their jurisdiction to do that. But is there somebody maybe it's monitored by the Supreme Court. I mean, that's a suggestion that all these agencies are then monitored by the Supreme Court to see that they are working in tandem. They should not be working in silos. They should be working in tandem to find a resolution. You know, we are a bright nation, okay? I don't see any reason. We have very bright government officers. We have very bright policy makers. We have very bright activists also, you know, who can contribute. I think it's about putting your head together and saying, this is how we're going to resolve it. You know, take the case of Delhi, for example. You know, world's one of the most polluting city. You look at where we stand globally and also India's most polluted city. Why can't we get together and resolve this? This can be done, and I'm very hopeful that with the new Delhi government in place, we will now find some momentum in that direction where we would be able to resolve something for Delhi, because we can't be at loggerheads on these things. It's not you versus me, it's about us, as I said earlier. Therefore, a comprehensive approach by multiple line ministries, various departments of science and technology. There are various departments of the government. We have everything. We just need to collaborate on it so that we are able to bring resolution to this crisis and we can surmount it. I can tell you, we have the ability to surmount it. It's about the will to do it.
So I'll have one quick round of response from each of the other panelists, and before we actually take questions, time permitting. So one thing which, like Mr. Chima just said, that, you know, we have extremely bright set of people in this country who understand what the problem is. We have the laws, we have everything. The question really is kind of, you know, maybe better coordination between the ministries and the authorities and kind of ensure that. So maybe, we have a nodal agency or something of that sort which kind of coordinates between various ministries on the issue of climate change, something of that sort. But that also kind of brings me to the next question that, you know, if we're talking about the whole executive, the lawmakers, and of course the judiciary, and considering Mr. Mehta is here, and we've seen the kind of proactive role that the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, has played in this country for a very long time, the green benches and all of that. So if we have to kind of assess as to where are we really lacking without kind of blaming any particular, you know, agency or whatever, what is it that we need to do better to ensure that there is better implementation of environmental laws? Because ultimately it boils down to implementation. We have all the authorities, we have all the laws, but somewhere we are clearly lacking when it comes to implementation. What is it really that we need to do better to ensure that there is better environment conservation protection in this country? Mr. Mehta.
In my view, the only thing is that to become each one of us, we have to become active on environment front. And environment means that air, water, groundwater, everything, you know. So then I think that we are mainly, you know, fence sitters. And fence sitters, you know, if everybody, the whole nation becomes fence sitters, and then who will do all these things? So we have to become, and in this whole front, we have to first sensitize our children. That's the first thing, stair. And then I think that after that, if they become committed, because I have seen some of the young, very 11 years old child, he asked me the question. I prefer to go there actually when I have a time, in the schools, in the colleges, and other places. And he says that he came to me and he brought a bottle and he showed me that ये पानी हम पी रहे हैं. तो मैंने कहा कि ये पानी आप पी रहे हो तो आपके पेरेंट्स ने क्या किया इसमें? कह दीजिए हम ये बिस्लरी जो है वो मंगवाते हैं. मुझे बड़ा अजीब लगा. मैंने कहा वो कितनी मंगवाते हो आप? कहते कि क्रेट्स आते हैं हमारे घर में. तो मैंने उनके कहा, उनके पेरेंट्स को मैंने कहा कि भाई आप ये क्या कर रहे हो, अब ये कहाँ जा रहा है? मैंने कहा हम एक तरफ से तो आप शुद्ध पानी जो आप पी रहे हैं, पर दूसरी तरफ से ये जो है जो दिया जा रहा है, ये ऐसा क्यों होना चाहिए? सो इन एनी केस उन्होंने जो है वो बच्चे जो है वो आज इतने बड़े, उनको मैंने कंपटीशन में बुलवाया, उनको जो है वो अब हमारे जो है वो बच्चे जो फर्स्ट बच्चे आते हैं उनको हम आश्रम में बुलाते हैं, और उनको जो है वो उनको पूरा एक हफ्ता रहते हैं वो, एंड दे बिकम चेंज्ड. So हमें we have to become active in this front, and if we do that, we are all, that people, those who can really change this side, this whole thing, in the sense, the direction towards for the goodness of this country, for the health and the welfare of this each family. एक आदमी आया मेरे पास, उसने कहा, सर मेरे पास तो कुछ है ही नहीं है. तो वो कहता है कि मेरे सारा पैसा कैंसर के ऊपर लग गया है. अब उसके वहाँ फैमिली में जो कैंसर था किसी को, तो अब अगर कैंसर ही हमने फैलाना है पूरे कंट्री में, फिर ये रूल करने की भी तो हमारे नेताओं को ज़रूरत भी नहीं है. मैं कभी जाता हूँ, मैं उनसे बात करता हूँ कि आप बाहर तो निकलिए, आप हर चीज़ जो कहते हैं ये स्कीम ये है हमारी, ये हमारी, पर अल्टीमेटली जो है वो आप कहीं फ्रंट में जाते हो. तो अब ये चीज़ें जब नहीं होती तो तब यू फील फ्रस्ट्रेटेड इन द सेंस कि भाई, और फिर कुछ लोग जो हैं जो उनको लगता है कि हम नहीं कर सकते. तो जब वो डिफीटिज़म की बात आ जाती है कि मैं डिफीटेड हूँ, जैसे भी है मुझे रहना है, अगर क्योंकि वो तो विदेशों में तो जा नहीं सकता, उसकी इनकम तो है नहीं, और फिर उसको जब वो हॉस्पिटल में भी जाएगा तो पैसा मिलता है. आजकल लगता है जितने प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स हैं दे लूट इन द सेंस, फ्रेंकली. अब पहले जाते ही उनको कहते हैं जी आप 5 लाख रुपया जमा करवा दो. अब 5 लाख रुपया किसके पास होगा इमीडिएटली? जो लोवेस्ट रंग का आदमी है उसने 5 लाख तो उसको 1 साल में भी नहीं दे सकेगा. सो वी हैव टू, ये हमारा, मैं इसलिए वाई आई एम एम्फेसाइजिंग दिस थिंग अगेन एंड अगेन, क्योंकि वी आर द पीपल, जो हम लोग जो है वो अपने जो कर सकते हैं, जो लॉयर्स हैं, खासकर लॉयर्स का बहुत बड़ा, भाई हमने तो फ्रीडम मूवमेंट जो है आप देखिए सारे लॉयर्स थे उस वक्त भी, ऑलमोस्ट 75% लॉयर्स थे. और उन लोगों ने जो महात्मा गांधी से लेकर नेहरू और ये और वो और सारे के सारे देखिए, तो उनका रोल था ना. सो वी कैन फर्स्ट चेंज द माइंडसेट ऑफ द पॉलिटिशियंस, ऑफ द पीपल, एंड देन अल्टीमेटली द थिंग्स विल मूव. पर ये बहुत देर हो जाएगी तब तक. तो इसलिए जब मैं तो हमेशा ये कहता हूँ, क्या आप पूरे हिंदुस्तान को जब वो ये हॉस्पिटल बनाना चाहते हो क्या? टर्न इट इनटू ए हॉस्पिटल. What will be the fate? And really see, अगर आप आंकड़े अगर इकट्ठे करें तो इट गोज इन टू क्रोड्स, जो लोग जब सफ़र कर रहे हैं, कोई क्योंकि दे आर वॉइसलेस एंड दे कांट डू एनीथिंग. सो प्लीज़ हम लोगों को अपना अपने जगह में जितना पास हो सकता है, जितना भी है, और लॉयर्स का, डॉक्टर्स का ये बहुत भारी रोल है. फ्रेंकली हमारा तो ये है कि हम एक लीगल फ्रंट पर हम कर सकते हैं. जब कोर्ट जाओ, कोर्ट भी उनके सामने जाओ, अगर बॉटल जाओ दिखाई जाएं तो उनको मालूम हो जाता है कि भाई. तो मैंने एक केस था, बिछड़ी का केस था, तो उस केस में मैंने यही हुआ कि वो जब कोर्ट वाज नॉट रेडी टू इशू द, और मैंने लकली वो बॉटल जो है वो रखी, मैं अपने बैग में रखी हुई थी. तो मैंने आई पुट दैट बॉटल ऑन इन फ्रंट, एंड देन the judges, one of the judges said, what is this? मैंने कहा, your lordship, this is the drinking water. If you are not you are reluctant to issue notice to me in this case, if your lordship I'm doing something wrong, it is unethical for me to say that you take a sip of this water. Immediately that the bench they discussed, and then they realized, and then they issued. That was a Bichri case, Bichri village. Yeah, this Bichri case. So that is what, so we have to, each one of us we have to do some role, We should spare some time, 1 hour, 2 hours, or one day in a week, or whatever way, we can bring a change. Otherwise, we will be talking in this way, but this is very important. At least we are meeting. But after this, from this, that if we, some 100 people or 50 people or something, and we monitor them, we help them, each other, and things can change. That's what I feel.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Venkateshan, your concluding thoughts on what should we be doing better? What should we be doing better? Be it the government, be it the judiciary, be it the bureaucrats? What should we do better to ensure that the state of India's environment improves?
Actually, no, the three wings of the government should work in tandem, actually. And there are some legislations which require also fine tuning. Like I came across being in petroleum sector, we are being governed by Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, and we have petroleum and natural gas regulations. So, being a part of petroleum sector, I thought that why don't I do some doctorate on petroleum laws. So that is how that prompted me to do doctorate in this. So I found out why people are not purchasing CNG vehicles in the way in which they are purchasing other petroleum vehicles like that. This is because, for example, if a person from Delhi wants to travel to Chandigarh, first of all, you should have CNG stations in nook and corner in our entire the highway, just like petrol pumps. If we don't have petrol pumps, it won't give any, what is the guarantee that you will travel up to Chandigarh. So then it came to my mind, why it is happening like this, like that. Then I have gone through various regulations. The bidding process of the Petroleum Act, which says that any entity which is participating for taking this work in a geographical area, you should do a comprehensive activity. It is not restricted to one activity. He can't be restricted only to setting up of CNG station. He has to do all the comprehensive activities like even supplying 10,000 PNG connections to houses, for industries. One entity, how we can do all these activities? So my entire in my thesis, I have given a recommendation also that government should think of reviewing that entire certain policy, certain sections have to be fine-tuned. Because now there are a lot of startup companies who are ready to do it in an innovative way. Just like petrol pumps auction, CNG pump auction should be there. So that everywhere people, where from they will bring gas, it is their headache. You give it to all these, they will have innovative ideas. All these startup companies can do it. So that is how we should not restrict only to certain entities as far as setting up of the entire composite activities. This is how the legislation also requires some changes. At the same time, executives also, in implementation also, there must be some stringent punishments have to be given when there is a lot of this thing. People are not complying with all these things. It should be deterrent rather than giving just a fine to the people. No, there should be some punishment exactly. Then only they will come to know about all these things. This is my...
Thank you. So, Dr. Gupta, one last thought from you. Considering we've actually kind of, had this phase of ESG reporting for the top 1,000 companies by way of market capital and all of that, and we have a whole lot of small and medium enterprises who clearly, the way they see it, many of them actually is that, this is something which doesn't really apply to us at this stage, where we're kind of required to do this mandatory reporting in the BRSR format. So maybe, of course, earlier we had the BRR and the BRSR, where, but so what would be your thoughts or suggestion to industries which don't necessarily need to kind of do the compulsory reporting at this stage, but what is it that they should be doing better to ensure that they are better compliant when it comes to E, S, and G, so that when it becomes mandatory beyond the top 1,000 companies, they are better prepared to ensure that they, put up a brave front before the regulators?
So, just to share you my thoughts, I can answer this question in just 3 words: the values versus value. So now, what is happening that in the earlier days, and even we were discussing here, that it is the mindset, as rightly mentioned by Sir also, that each one of us has to become an activist. So in the earlier days, the environmental topics, the climate change related topics were being treated as a moral value. I'm giving you the perspective, the commercial perspective of the things which we are discussing here.
So it was always a moral value everybody was looking for, and everybody was of this opinion that this is the government job. It is not my job. It is the government, they have to take care of the environment. But now what happened over a period of time, that because we are talking about the sustainability. Sustainability, I'm not talking about only in terms of the environmental sustainability, but the sustainability of the organization per se, that the organization will be able to, will be acting as a going concern or not. Now, when we talk about the sustainability of the organization, it is the access to the capital. So now, these topics, these issues, when we talk about the ESG, they have now related, they are more concerned with, rather than the values, they are more concerned with the value perspective, meaning thereby that you will be able to access the money if you are a ESG compliant organization. You are doing a better reporting, you are not doing a lip services, you are not doing a greenwashing. So what I am trying to convey you, that it is not only the regulatory requirement of the BRSR, but the international community, even domestically and internationally, even the specific mutual funds are there, the green funds are there, who are saying that I will be giving you the money only when your organization is more sustainable. So the days are not far away when the biggest of the organizations will not get the access to the capital, and even the organization like a small startup, which is doing a good work as far as the environment is concerned, they will get the more access to the money. Now, the concern which I carry with me, that when sir was mentioning about the Taj, I am completing in next 30 seconds. So when I was my concern was that when we talking about the larger organizations, they are in a position to implement the best of the best policy, the machineries, the equipments to control the environment. But when we talk about the MSMEs, which are 6 crores in number in India, they don't have the access to that kind of a capital to deploy that kind of equipments and the other energy resources to control the environmental impact on them. This is something that very, very importantly one has to understand, not only the government, that maybe they have to do like a solar. You are getting the subsidy if you are putting a rooftop solar. Similarly, they have to give this kind of a infrastructure, the environment, the subsidy, the support to the MSME also, that okay, you deploy because you are also looking for a net zero. So again, it's a mindset that everybody, each one of, even the policy maker has to have that mindset, that how we will be able to achieve the net zero.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. And I think we've already, so see, the problem is when you have such eminent people on the panel, you always, as a moderator, I always have this temptation to ask more and more questions and benefit from the conversation. But clearly we've exceeded the permitted time. So I'll kind of thank all the panelists. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chima has requested that he wants to give a copy of his book on climate change to all the panelists. So thank you so much for that. And thank you to everyone who kind of sat through this long session. And I hope you benefited from the conversation. So thank you very much. And thank you to all the panelists for being a part of this. Thank you.